Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Money Mentor with Graham Home, your host, as always. This session is going to be pretty exciting. It could be pretty fucking unbelievable, to be honest, but also pretty exciting. Imagine being 27 years old, but still having 27 years left on your home loan to go, but being fortunate enough and worked your backside off enough and hard enough to have 4 investment properties. Now, 4 investment properties at 27 years old is pretty inspirational, but to have 27 years left on the mortgage sounds a little bit painful. It's a bit of a struggle with a cuddle. But we're going to talk to an inspirational young gentleman today who has actually exceeded that. Welcome. How are you?
Gee, I'm well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Now, Tom, we're going to call Mr. Redford. Mr. Red. No, Tom has been a client for how long now?
Just over 12 months. So I joined in January 2024.
January 2024. Okay, so we've had our anniversary.
Yeah.
Now, 27 years young.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you do for work? So we'll give people some context and some background here. What do you do for work?
Yeah, so I'm the operations manager at a performing arts studio.
Okay.
So I'm a performer by trade. I was speaking to the guys earlier.
Yeah.
Trained as a performer.
Why do performers always look so pretty? Why do you always look so healthy and pretty, and why are you all so fancy?
I don't know. That's a good compliment.
Mate, take it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But
everyone in the arts is always very pretty and healthy and good looking and perfect eyes and teeth. Clearly, I'm not in the arts. I've got a head like a drop meat pie. But anyway, it's just a genuine question. Director of?
No, operations manager
Yep.
of Performing Arts Studio in Sydney.
Yep.
It's called Brent Street Performing Arts.
Yep.
Large performing arts centre, probably one of the largest in Australia.
Okay.
So I trained there as a dancer.
Right.
They have a high school on site.
Yep.
I went through that, and then I did tertiary education through them as well.
Okay.
I performed internationally, overseas,
Yep.
in Australia a little bit, and then when I came back to Australia permanently, the director offered me a job there.
Wow.
And I've worked my way up since. And
Massive underachiever. Okay. Get it. Well done, by the way. Well done.
Thank you.
So how old were you when you bought your first home?
Bought my first home, I would have been 19.
19. So 8 years ago. Okay.
Yeah.
And whereabouts was that?
That was in Zetland, New South Wales.
Zetland. Okay. Yep. Sydney. Okay. And so first home, 8 years ago, 19 years old, worked your backside off, and you've obviously refinanced that home because you had 27 years left to go. So a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So what was maybe give us the journey. You've also got a couple of investments. So first home 19.
Yep.
And then what happened from there?
Yeah. So first home 19, speaking of that, traveling internationally,
Yep.
I actually worked on a cruise ship.
Okay.
And because I was underage, meaning I was under 21, I couldn't drink.
From America. Yeah.
From
Okay.
America.
Yeah.
So I saved my entire salary because they feed you, they house you.
Yeah.
I had nothing to spend
No
any of my money
expenses
on.
at all.
So when I got off that ship, I had a large sum of cash,
Yep.
and that's what I used to buy my first owner occupier.
Okay.
And then I bought that, and I actually locked into a fixed rate for 5 years
Okay.
at what is actually a pretty good interest rate now. I think it was like 3 point something%.
Okay. Do you remember what the comparison rate was? Well, you
can't
didn't even
remember.
know, did you?
No, I didn't know.
Just the fixed rate.
Yeah.
Base rate.
Yeah.
Okay.
For 5 years.
Yep.
And so I was like, I'm happy, I'm comfortable with those repayments, I'm good. And then obviously COVID came along.
Yeah.
And the rates completely dropped.
And you thought you were losing then, right?
Correct.
Because it could have been cheaper.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
So
so
that was the second property. So first one.
that was my first.
Oh, that was the first off the ship.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So I lived in that for about 3 years. Or I still live there now. I haven't moved.
Yep.
And during COVID, I decided to restructure a little bit.
Yep.
And I met another property guru,
Okay.
property analyst.
Yeah.
And they got me to cross-collateralize my loan, and that got me into a second investment. It wasn't a good decision at the time, but
Okay.
that property actually performed well. It was in Mango Hill.
Well, that's a good decision. It performed well.
Yeah.
Cross securitization, maybe
that's
not.
that's what was, I guess, dangerous about it. But that did get me out of the fixed rate, and it helped restructure it a little bit.
So North Brisbane, good area by the way. So
Yeah.
yeah, would have done well. That was the first investment.
Correct.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And so after that, these two properties were cross securitized.
Yep.
And I thought I was capped again. I was just,
Okay.
going along. And that group that I was with had told me that I was capped, and I don't like being told that I'm capped.
Okay.
And so I went exploring,
Yeah.
and I met a buyer's agent, and he got me into these 3 other properties.
Okay.
Now, admittedly, they aren't amazing properties. That first investment property that we're talking about was brand new.
Yep.
But these other 3 aren't, and they're in regional locations.
Okay.
In saying that, though, the one that I'm selling at the moment to pay down the principal place of residence
Yep.
has generated 160K profit. So
Well, you wouldn't
not
kick it out of bed for farting. It's
Yeah.
not too bad, to be honest. Okay.
Yeah.
So, home, 19, first investment property, North Brisbane, Mega Hill, done really well.
yeah,
Then told you were capped. So, one expert told you were capped.
yeah,
Another expert has been able to get you 3 more.
yeah.
Okay. And what sort of structure were they using to acquire those other 3 properties? Were they using some weird trust structure that gave you new serviceability? How come the prior advisor said no and these guys said yes?
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, I had saved up a bit of cash.
Yep.
So I had more deposit there. There was a bit of equity in my own occupier
Right.
again.
So it's although the property's done well, the first advisor's really transacted. So it's
Yep.
quite transactional.
100%.
And then there's no plan in place for you to grow
Yep.
beyond that. They've had the transaction, done their job, which is fine.
Yep.
But there's real no ongoing, okay, next steps. Where are we going to go from here? Let's hold your
Yep.
hand here by the sounds of it.
100%.
So then left to your own devices, you've worked hard,
Yeah.
created equity, markets created, and you've saved some money as well. So that's obviously put you in a different position, but that first advisor's never bothered to reach back out and help you
No.
leverage that.
No. And see, the funny thing with them is, as I said, I was pretty aggressive
yeah.
and active.
Hey, give me more,
Yeah.
more. Yeah.
And so they just never
Followed up.
engaged with me.
It's one and done.
Yeah, so I just went
Sounds like a
and did my own
one-night
thing.
stand. Like get in, get off, get out. There's no names, no phone numbers. Jeez.
100%.
It's a bit rough.
So yeah, I mean, that's where I can see massive difference with. I mean, there's a huge difference with everything that Infinity does, but
Stop it.
but it really is transformational, as you say all the time, and continual ongoing dialogue, conversation. I'm meeting Travis after this just to chat further.
Yeah, and we'll get into that structural stuff in a minute of what we do differently. But I'm keen for the people, because a lot of people, our audience, are not clients, or they're just taking the free info, which is cool. I love that. Like they're taking that free knowledge and executing themselves. So going back to that portfolio, the home, 4 investments, we've got 27 years left on the mortgage. You've then been told you're capped, even with that new second advisory firm.
Yep.
And you've then found us. So talk me through that process. Where did you find us? Why were you looking again? Like, was it 4 not enough? I mean, I know you did an event with us recently. You're on stage and there's like 500 people in the room. It's a good question. The gentleman goes, mate, you had 4 properties. Why the fuck did you go and look for Graham? Like, it's a fair question, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess to answer that question directly, I'm very ambitious, and I want to strive for more. And I remember I told my mum when I was 18, this is before I transacted on my first property,
Yeah.
that I would own 10 properties by the time I was 30.
Okay.
And my parents aren't very huge in investing, but and this came from love. But they were like, that, like, it's not possible. They
Right.
couldn't see that possibility, and I remember in that moment, and I was pretty heated, and I was like, I will show you that I will buy 10 properties by the time I'm
I'll
30.
fucking show you.
Yeah. And so, I mean, subconsciously, that's definitely been a driving factor. But
And that's not to piss your parents off, right? It's
No.
from a place of, I'll fucking show you. We can do this,
yeah,
right? Yeah, okay.
And so, in no way did they mean anything bad by saying that's not possible. They just haven't met people
To
like
them,
you.
it's not possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And
So they got
so,
a limiting belief. Like, that's just not something that's attainable
Yeah.
for anyone, let alone
Yeah.
your family. Okay.
Yeah. And so I've always been driven by that and driven to do better with my life and build wealth and build generational wealth, hopefully.
I love that word. I love that word, generational.
Yeah. And so that's I guess what's driving me, and I'm just very ambitious, Once I settle on one, I'm like, okay, how do we get the next one?
Okay.
And I just keep
So
going.
you capped at 4. So younger, I want 10 properties by 30. You can't do that, Mum and Dad. And you're like, fucking watch me. I'll take pictures along the way. Smile. And then you've got the first one, you've got the second one capped out, you've got another 3.
Yeah.
And then so you're obviously at some point here, you're like, oh, and you're not someone to say no to, clearly.
Yeah.
So how did you find us?
Well, your ad popped up on Facebook.
Of course it did. I'm everywhere.
Yeah. And so I saw you there, and I was like, I was hooked. I remember it was a Sunday afternoon, and I'd actually been out on the Saturday night. And so I was
A little bit dusty and
yeah.
okay.
And I was relaxing, and I remember, and I saw your ad, and then somehow I got onto the Both Sides podcast.
Right.
And I sat there and I watched it. I think it was like 3 hours of
there's 3.5, 4 hours
content.
And big props to Kev and Dan, because it was like, we did the first one and they're like, we can't stop.
Yeah.
Cut. And we're like, can we do another one?
Yeah.
And I had a live event, which was in Sydney then.
Yeah.
And they're like, I said, I've got to go do this live event. Guys like, can we come and do another one?
Yeah.
We literally sat in the room at the event and filmed one in the room and another, and it ended up turning into like 4.
Yeah. Well, I think, and I could be wrong on the timeframes here, but I think that Sunday I watched episode 1 of that Both Sides podcast.
Which is episode 60 for anyone who wants to check it
Yeah.
out. Both Sides.
And then on the Tuesday, I did your webinar.
Yep.
Like, so that 2 days later.
Yep.
I did your webinar. And then that Saturday, Sunday, I did your Sydney live event.
Oh,
masterclass.
wow. Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So you watched the first... Yeah, so the first 1 and 2... The first one was in the office in Sydney at Barangaroo. The second one was, I think, in the live room in Sydney.
Yep.
And the third and the fourth, I think, were in here.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's that was like recorded, published, and you watched it and you were there. Which was off the back of the Richard Branson event.
Yes.
Because I'd just done a big tour with Branson.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. So that's just over a year. That was December or January last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
January.
January, yeah. Okay. There you go. All right.
So yeah, I watched your content, and then I just like literally became obsessed with you.
Stop it. Okay.
I'm a bit starstruck that I'm actually.
Just a young housing commission kid having a crack, mate.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you executed pretty quickly. So weekend, night out, pretty dusty, relaxing on a Sunday, recovering. Podcast, which is episode 60 of Both Sides, if anyone's curious, with Kevin Dan, good guys, really good content. And I think what was interesting about that, and I'm keen to get your feedback, and you've executed quickly, podcast, free webinar, which is great. Podcasters, people go, fucking, what's it cost? Podcast is free.
Mm-hmm.
YouTube is free.
Yeah.
Webinars, free.
100%.
Sure, there can be some commercial something at the back of it, but what did you find that really grabbed you on that first podcast? What was it that then went, shit, I need to hear more? Because everyone's a bit different, right? I know for me, when I watch it back, I see Kevin Dan's genuine intrigue. You know, sometimes you get a lot of experts doing things together and it's like they bounce off each other. It's very high level. But even Kevin Dan in the real estate industry and they were like, whoa, this is a bit, and I could feel the energy of, they're like, this is cool, right? And so it just kept going. But what was striking a chord for you in that podcast?
I think that initial podcast that I watched was how authentic you were within that. You see a lot of people, and I've watched Both Sides before, and they're in suits and they're there.
Yeah, real estate agents, advisors,
and it looked, I don't know what the right word is here. Like you were just the same as us,
One of us.
Yeah, you just and that really resonated with me, and I think it flowed with the conversation.
Right.
And I think to your point of the Both Sides boys being intrigued and genuine, involved in the conversation, I think that brought me into the conversation as well. Yeah,
because that was the biggest, that energy exchange of them being like, whoa, on different topics. I was like, they were enjoying it. So I was, because I felt like I was actually helping someone learn something.
Yeah.
Which usually in some sessions you don't. People are like, and they bound them. So the more they enjoyed it, the more I enjoyed it. I'm fuck, we'll keep doing it. So,
100%.
okay, it's really good feedback.
Yeah.
And I like because I haven't done a suit and tie for years. I roll around in pajamas practically, or a hat and a t-shirt. So, and I find that interesting because a lot of people sometimes are like, oh, I wouldn't listen to this bloke or blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, mate, empty can rattles the loudest. Sure, people should be professional and present well, but for me, fortunately, I've got to a position in my career and journey where my experience and results speak well beyond what I wear
100%.
or how I speak.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah.
So it was just it was authentic for you. And and that exchange, it was so authentic because I remember the boys like, whoa, on a couple of things and we're bouncing off each other. It became really authentic for me.
And I was just so excited by what you were saying. And I remember you were talking about the Christmas event for the Infinity clients the year before.
Dalton House.
Yeah, at Dalton House. And I was like, whoa, like, who is this guy? And and then I started doing obviously more research from there and
Dalton
finding
House has
out
got
more about
nothing
you.
on SeaWorld.
I know. I know. But I was just so, I was just like, wow, like so pulled in by that conversation. And and to your point before about content that you have for free, and what you can learn from that. And this is not to take away from any of the events that I've been to because you learn so much. But the amount that I've learned from you that's actually been free and available to everyone is, because there's so much available out there.
And I think it's good for people that if you genuinely give unconditionally, you can have a business in the background. Like we record everything we do, we chop it up, we put it out. Free webinars, they only used to be live. Now we have recorded versions of people's. Like it's weird. The more you give, the more you receive, whether you want it or not. And that's why we've blown up so quickly. But and I love that. So what were some of the key takeaways for you from the podcast, and then even the free webinar and content? What were a couple of things you were like, oh shit, I'm doing it all wrong, or oh maybe I could do it better? Do you remember any of those initial light bulb moments?
Initial light bulb moment in the masterclass was, it would have been the first 2 hours that you work through the workbook and write, what do you actually need? Food, fuel, fun. And you work that out and you work out, I was looking at my bank statements at the same time of what I was actually spending and doing and, different things here and there. And once I worked out the FFF and then I punched it into the calculator, mate, that's wild because I was sitting there and I'm sure you experience this all the time. You would have experienced this just on the weekend. But I was sitting there thinking what you said at the start. 27 years old, I've got 4 properties, I'm capped, and I've got 27 years left of bad debt.
And I might do it in 22, 25 by paying a bit extra.
Yeah. And
that's the thing. Just pay more. Well,
100%.
fucking well done, Bright Spark. If that worked, everyone would just pay more and we wouldn't have this conversation.
Yeah. And I knew no different. That's what I literally thought my life was going to be.
So was that, I guess, confronting, self-effacing, like, what am I spending? Where is my money? Oh, mocha chocolate, croissant. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So is that the first confronting big, I guess, light bulb, oh fuck moment of what am I actually doing versus what has G just taught me how to do? Is that probably the first big one?
I'd say so. I'd say that was the first time where I was like, wow. Like for me personally, there was definitely wow moments along the way up until that point of like, give me more, give me more, give me more. I'm so intrigued and invested in this conversation. But for me personally, that's when I was like, wow, this will change my life, and look at what I'm doing.
And that process for anyone listening at home that hasn't been through that, and you can check out the free webinars and watch all the gazillion bits of content, but the free webinar will nail it. But one of the steps I take you through in that process is let's create a new FFF. We call it food, fuel, fun. Your weird fetishes, you can add whatever you like. Could be food, fuel, fun. Could be food, fuel, fun fetishes. But and that process is forget all your bills, forget all your subscriptions, forget any of that. It's memberships. This is, what do I need? Food, fuel, fun, transport. Like, how do I live Monday to Sunday, right? And I find it such a simplistic way over my 25 years in financial services to go, well, when you wake up on Monday, you need to exist till Sunday if you assume Monday's payday. And if all of your bills are paid and everything's covered, it's not that fucking hard, is it?
100%.
And I watch people like, and people think budget's a dirty word. It's like, oh, you're going to live in scarcity. No, it's living in abundance. when you get in the car to go to work,
Mm.
if you weren't work, well, you're pretty close maybe, but
Mm.
you get in the car, you have a plan. You've got
Yeah.
a route.
Yeah.
You know, oh, this is my route. This is my desk. Oh, hang on. Waze or GPS is an accident.
Mm.
I'll go off the highway.
Yeah.
You have a route to get to your destination. But
Yeah.
then most humans, once you get to work to earn the money, you have no plan for the money.
Yeah.
Taparoo?
Yeah.
Why do I feel like I live in a zoo?
Yeah.
All right, so that process I find pretty simplistic. And you did that yourself. So from what you were spending to what you created as your own plan on the masterclass, was there much difference at all?
Well, look, in the masterclass, I started with a much higher FFF than what I have now.
Okay. Well, what did you start with?
I started with 600
A week.
a week.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's just me, by the way. I'm
Yep.
single, just living my life.
Single, ready to mingle, pop a
Yeah.
Pringle, you know?
But yeah, so I started at $600 a week, and
Okay.
I mean now.
Do you know what you do? Do you have any idea how bad, or was it much higher? Were you blowing 800, 1,000 some weeks?
Yeah,
had a big
some weeks
night
were
out, or went for dinner with
1,000
friends?
plus.
Okay,
Some weeks.
because that'd be 52 grand a year
Yeah.
after tax.
Yeah.
If you spend $1,000 every week. Okay, so that, I mean, and budgeting isn't just the hack, but if you're spending 1,800, you've then dropped it and started. You wrote your own plan at the masterclass for 600 a week.
Yeah.
All your bills are paid. You need $600 a week to live.
Mm.
Okay. Did it, when you wrote it out, did it feel realistic and achievable, or did you write it out and go, I don't know, how real was it?
When I first wrote it, I was like, "That's going to be tight." I know it sounds crazy saying this right now.
What is it today?
400.
400.
Yeah,
So
I reckon I could drop it down more because I'm still banking, each week.
now, do you know what's wild? People listening at home are like, "Oh, how could you fucking survive on $600 a week?"
Yeah.
Now we just said it's 400. People
Yeah.
are like, "This guy's off his fucking head." Then it's like, it could probably be less.
100%.
Isn't it funny? Once you actually put your energy and focus towards something,
Yeah,
you improve it. You
Yeah.
improve. It's like your health,
Yeah.
right? You exercise more, or you eat cleaner.
yeah.
So you started. So it was pretty wild. You started at 600. How long did it take you to refine it and go, I can do 400?
So I dropped to 500 after I met with my financial strategist.
Yep.
Straight after the masterclass.
Yep.
So we spoke through it, and then I dropped down to 500 because I had goals that I wanted to achieve. And then I dropped down to 400 at the start of this year. That was a goal of mine.
Okay.
And I actually didn't put too much planning into it per se. I just changed the direct debit to 400.
Okay.
And now I'm
And that's-
still fine, and I've still got money left over.
So
So
you get what you get, and you don't get upset.
yeah.
So was it a big culture? It was 600. We onboard you. We start doing all the new structural stuff, and like, yeah, okay. I've got these. I'm sick of being told, no, I want a fifth property or a sixth property. So you made the decision to drop it $100 straight away.
Yep.
And that's an extra $5,000 a year, $100 a week, $5,200. You dropped it to 5 straight away. How much, or was it not? How much of a culture shock was it for you that first week of $500 hit your debit card and all your bills? But was it much of a shock when you went to buy lunch, groceries, or did you have to change a lot of structural stuff? Or
I mean, the wild thing is no, not really. I guess at that time in my life as well, I went through a bit of a fitness journey.
Okay.
So I stopped going out as much.
Yep.
I've been sober for like 6 months now.
well done.
And I mean, there's been one slip up there, but pretty much 6 months is what I've been sober for. So I want to do this whole year is my goal.
Okay.
But that may or may not happen. Anyway, where I'm getting at with that is, I went on a bit of a fitness journey, and so I started getting my meals delivered to work.
Yep.
It was just my gym membership and a few other things that I had outside of that I was spending
It's a
money on.
social thing. You might go out for a coffee or
Yeah,
every now and then.
I cut coffee as well. So
Wow. Okay.
but that was from a fitness point of view, not from a I need to save money point of
Okay,
view.
so that was a lifestyle change. So
Yeah.
simultaneously, good timing, lifestyle change. And can I be clear? It's not cheap to be healthy.
Yeah,
Like, sadly,
Yeah.
it's not cheap to go, right, I'm going to have health food prepared, meals delivered, have my supplement. It's actually not fucking very cheap.
yeah,
But it's structured, right?
yeah,
And it also does buy a bit of time,
yeah,
funny enough.
100%.
Okay, so that was good timing.
Yeah.
Okay, and so it wasn't too much of a shock culture to you to go, right, I'm not just going to tap every single time I'm at the servo or I'm out at the cafe or whatever. It's pretty structured.
Yeah, I think it actually was fine, but I think that the reason why it was fine is because of those events that were happening within my life at that point in time.
Yeah.
If I was continuing to live normally, then it probably would have been more of a culture shock.
Yeah, okay. Would have taken some adjustment time.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's still doing that today? He's still doing your meals delivered, still keeping the health and fitness, staying off the piss. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So that gives everyone a really good snapshot of how we got to where we are. Now, so we've got our home, 4 investment properties, but we've now paid the home off, or it's being paid off right now. You selling one off?
Yeah, so I sold Mango Hill.
Yep.
I paid down my owner-occupier down to 200K.
Wow. What was it?
It was 500, close to 5.
Okay.
When I met you.
Well done.
And so
300 grand gone in a year from those profits.
Yeah.
Get the 50% capital gains tax discount because everyone thinks, oh, I'll never sell. Because everyone thinks if you sell, you got to pay 50% in tax. And it's like, oh, for fuck's sake. Yeah. No. If you've owned the asset for more than a year and you're an Australian resident for tax, you get half of it for free.
Yeah.
So is that something you were aware of before you joined?
No.
So you would always thought if I sell anything, I'm going to cop it in tax?
I mean, I didn't even know that, to be honest.
Okay.
I hadn't even thought that deeply.
You were just hauling ass. You were just, I'm going to create wealth. I'm going to, okay.
I had always thought in my head before I met you that I would continue to buy, hold. And that last BA that I worked with before I met you, it was all about cash flow properties.
Yep.
Positive.
Regional, cheaper.
Correct.
Right.
So that was where my mind was going. Continue to build that, get equity in them, get more cash flow positive properties, and then eventually live off that cash flow.
That $26 a week will really fund your lifestyle.
Yeah, 100%.
Compared to the 300 grand you had from the sale of the other asset. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Different strokes for different folks.
Yeah.
Okay. So sold that, dropped from 500 to 200, and so that takes us from 4 down to 3.
That takes us from 4 down to 3 investments, and then my owner occupier.
So 4 properties in total. Okay. And where are we today?
So today, I still hold those 3 investments in the owner occ, and I purchased 4 additional investment properties with Infinity. So the past...
But you can't. You're capped out.
I know. I don't know what they did. They just said, we do this, then I signed the forms.
But it makes sense, right?
It makes sense,
yeah. We're a little bit unique.
Yeah. And so we did that August, September, October last year.
Okay, so over a couple of months.
Yeah.
So a year ago, really January, February now, March, January last year, we start the journey. We create a financial structure to keep our cash flow pretty stable and regular. And we've followed that process. We've sold an asset, dumped 300 grand off the home from 5 down to 2.
Yep.
And then throughout August, September, October, as that structure and the dust is settling and it's working and you can see that it's optimized, we've then gone and added another 4 properties to the portfolio.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was amazing. Obviously, I was like, this is heaven. Let's go more.
Okay.
And
I just want to give some context because we said 200 grand there. I did at the opening, they said homes paid off in full. So I just want to give some context out of these 3 investment properties that are left. You are selling another one, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just so people at home go, these numbers don't add up. They do, but we're just getting obviously through the dialogue. So we're selling another investment property of the 3. That's going to pay the home to 0?
Correct, yeah. So that settles in 2 weeks, I think.
Okay, so just for clarity for everyone, that's why we're claiming and stating home debt-free, because once this is out and produced, you're debt-free. It's booked, it's sold, it's about to settle.
Yeah.
No home loan. Gone. Wow.
With cash left over.
With extra cash.
Yeah.
Look out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've still got some cash in redraw at the moment, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So, and then we've added 4. So that 3 will drop to 2. So you have home and 2 new investments. So we've gone from 4 down to 2, plus 4 new. So we've gone up to 6.
Correct.
Plus the home.
Yep.
Wow.
Which is now debt free. Once that occurs.
How's that feel?
Oh, it's amazing. I as I said, I never I never thought in a million years would I be in this position.
So right now, technically, we've got 8 properties, but we're settling in 2 weeks. So we've got 8 properties with a 200 grand home loan.
Mm-hmm.
We're about to go to 7 properties with no home loan.
Correct.
And we need to get to 10 in 3 years. Is that what you told mum and dad when you were 18?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just trying to remember. Okay,
Yeah.
just trying to see what work we need to still do here.
Yeah.
Okay, we can do that. 3 in 3.
Yeah.
I mean, we did 4 in 3 months last year.
Yeah.
Piece of piss.
That's
Okay.
the goal.
So, you told mum and dad at 18 you wanted to have 10 properties by the time you were 30.
Yeah.
For most people, poo-poo, gaga, we get in the comments on these,
Yeah.
you can't do that, fuck, whatever. Misery
Yeah.
loves company, right? Or it's just, you can't believe it to be possible. It is possible for you. You're living proof of that.
Mm.
But where to from here? With the 4 new investments, the other 2 that you'll be holding plus home. So we're going to have 7 properties in total.
Mm-hmm.
No debt on the... And by the way, the hack is you invest to make money.
Mm.
You only make money when you actually become liquid and sell. It's not monopoly, right?
Yeah.
So when you sell your clear home, the hack is when your home loan's gone, when there's no 30-year non-deductible debt looming over your household, that opens up an astronomical borrowing capacity.
Yeah.
You're not paying rent and you're not paying a home loan.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't understand that. Your capacity might be this much. When the home loan's gone, it's this much.
Yeah.
So you obviously have do you still have a desire for that 10 by 30, 3 more?
Yeah.
Or is it bigger? Is it smaller? Where are you at now? Where to from here?
Look, I mean, desire, I'd go more than 10.
Okay.
But I think my mindset is shifting slightly to not necessarily the number. I want to hit the number just so that I can say I hit the number.
Okay.
But not necessarily the number that I hold, but the value of what I hold from a dollar perspective. Because sure, I want to hit 10, I'd hit 20, I'd hit 100 if I could tomorrow.
Yep.
But
there's also a quality aspect, right?
Correct.
So, I mean, you talked earlier about, and we're selling some of them down now, cash flow positive properties, which in today's interest rate environment, you've got to fabricate or them, you've got to rent by rooms or dual occupancies or duplexes. A normal home is not typically cash flow positive at today's rates. So there's a balance between quality and quantity. Yeah, it'd be great. I've got 100, but
Totally.
you've got 100 properties that are falling down around you and you're a slumlord, you're probably not providing a great service to the community. Yeah. Because there's that moral, ethical obligation as well. So like you said, well, it'd be nice to have the number, but you also want to have a solid portfolio.
Yeah. So I think it's more about, and when I was speaking with Luke, my wealth strategist, it's more about the value of the assets that I hold,
Right.
compared to the number. I want to hit the number just so I can say I did it.
Yep.
But I could hold 5 assets worth 10 million.
Yep.
Compared to 10 assets still worth 10 million, or
And
whatever that is.
And what's the cheapest investment property you've bought, even pre-Infinity? Do you remember what the first or the cheapest one you ever bought?
Yeah, the cheapest one I bought would have been 280.
280. Wow.
Yeah.
Is that in a regional area?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's one that I'm selling.
I was going to say we might need to sell that.
Yeah, that's what's getting sold.
Okay. And nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Just, obviously incomes, lifestyle, art, sport, all the medical, these things dictate income typically. There's a lot of high income around the city hubs or within 30, 45 minutes. If we go to a small population of 5,000, yes, it might be 280 to buy. It might rent for $300-400 a week, but the capital growth prospects are typically slower in that environment. So, okay, very interesting. Now you're saying it's probably more so about the quality and the value, the dollar value. Why is that important to you? Is it because you want a particular return on that investment? You want a 2%, you want an 8%, or the dollar? Why are you thinking now, instead of just so much, clearly we're going to hit the 10. We're going to have to hit the 10 and do a round 2 of this. But besides hitting the 10 tick, I've done it. Okay, let's look at the portfolio and realign.
Yeah.
Why is the value / quality now important?
I guess I have big goals, dreams, and one of them being that I'm in a position by the time I'm 40 that I can retire on X amount of passive income that I have on my mind.
Okay.
And to do that, I recognize that I need a certain amount of return.
If just make up a number.
Yep.
If you've got $10 million returning X% per annum, that's your number.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And
that makes sense. So now it's about the asset base and the return, the yield on the asset base before capital growth and deductions.
And I also noticed, even with what I hold at the moment, like it takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
Of like, every week you're getting these statements from the property manager and sending off bills and doing this and doing that. Like it's all manageable and the property manager does it. But obviously if you're talking 10, 20, 30, 40, it becomes more work. So I'm
trust me, it's a real first world problem.
Yeah.
I have a Beck. And then Beck hired a bookkeeper.
Yeah.
And we've actually got a bookkeeper for our personal investment portfolio because there's stuff. We don't have the relationship managers in the team like you've got here.
Yeah.
So our private personal stuff is we've got a bookkeeper and an account. We've got a whole team of people under us personally just because there's things flowing in and out and repairs and maintenance and expenses. And the portal helps, but it's full on.
Yeah.
It's full on.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's also why I want to sell those dogs as well, because I'm over obviously stuff breaks and stuff, but I've replaced 3 air conditioners in like 3 years. I've replaced this, the hot water system broke, like all this different stuff's going on.
So do you find in your portfolio now, getting to sort of 7-ish at the moment, the newer versus the older properties, is there a difference between them as far as maintenance, repairs, caliber of tenant? Is there any difference at all in your portfolio, do you find?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. All I can compare off for the new property versus old property is the one that I sold in Mango Hill.
Yes.
The others are still getting built currently.
Yep.
And so that I don't think I replaced anything for
and that Mango
3
Hill
years.
you acquired brand new?
New.
Okay, so you bought brand new, lots of depreciation years ago.
Yep.
Maintenance, warranty, everything covered, right?
Yep.
And so you didn't have any outlay in that for repairs and maintenance until you sold it.
No.
How many years did you hold that one for?
Would have been 2.5 years, I think.
Okay, so you've done well. You've had a couple $100,000 profit in a couple of years. I mean, that's really good.
Yeah.
And no maintenance, no repairs, no outgoings.
No.
Okay. I mean, maintenance might have happened, but you didn't have to replace anything. It's all covered under warranty.
I guess I never had the headache of the property manager saying, this is broken.
Right.
If there was ever something that had to happen, it was all done and taken care of.
Without cost.
Yeah, without cost. So
whereas the ones we're selling, the older one you're selling, you're saying you've replaced a couple of air conditioners in different properties in the last couple of years, as an example. Okay.
Hot water system broke.
Okay.
Different things.
And how old would those properties have been, do you think? 10, 20, 40 years, like old?
Like 20 plus.
20 plus years old? Okay. So are you now leaning more towards newer properties because you're finding it a bit more convenient and easier to manage? Is that the thought process?
Not necessarily. Okay. I think I'm leaning towards what you recommend me.
Good answer. Good.
Like really, that's the truth of it. I can see proof in the pudding of what you've done, what clients have done. I'm like, I'm not fighting that. I'm just joining the train.
Go with the flow. Okay. And what else what's the future hold for Tom? What else is happening in the horizon?
We're
going to hit 10, clearly.
Yeah.
We've got 3 and 3 we've got to achieve.
Yep.
Just tick that box there. That's fine.
Well, I guess longer term goal, which would be 13 years from now, is that I want to be in a position. I don't think I'll ever retire.
Okay.
I just want to be in a position by the time I'm 40, and it actually resonated with me what you said at REM last weekend about starting a family. Mm-hmm. I know this sounds weird, I'm single, but I'm a workaholic.
Yep.
I work 7 days a week.
Yep.
12, 16-hour days.
Feel your pain.
I just pump it.
Yeah.
And I love that.
You love it. You're addicted to it.
I'm addicted to it. I don't want to stop that. It is actually my identity. Like I really enjoy doing that.
Yep.
And ultimately, it's gotten me to the position that I'm in as well.
Yep.
So the hard work has paid off. But I want to be in a position when I'm 40 years old to start a family and be present for that family, and be present financially as well for that family, and provide in the way that that I think I should be able to.
But I absolutely love, because it resonates with me, right? Like we'll start a family in the next year or so, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
And it was when Beck and I met, 20, so it's like, hey, we're going to fucking balls to the wall. We're going to haul ass here because everyone around my family growing up, housing commission kids, this is like everyone struggled financially. People couldn't pay for brace. So I remember I had an accident. I couldn't get my teeth fixed until I actually had money as an adult recently. Like we couldn't afford it. Single mum. And a lot of friends and family of ours are still borrowing money for car rego off each other and, you know, can't really have holidays and kids don't have the money for the representative sport. And I think, and then but then I also, when I visit these friends and family, I see a house full of shit. And when I say shit, not literal, I mean toys, video games, iPads, iPhones, fucking technology, like flat screen TVs in every room on the wall, cool car. And I think, hang on a minute, the children can't get braces or they can't have a specialist appointment for an assessment because you're worried about their worried about them medically, yet we've got flat screen TVs worth $4,000 or $3,000 on every single fucking wall. Like, it's really interesting to me. It's really intriguing the way society's wired. So I love that you're saying, obviously 40 years old. I give myself at 40, 42 in a couple of months or two. I love that thought process already of, right, work. Because I call it a 20-40-20. You spend, most people spend 20 years of their life figuring out who they are, learning, growing, having fun, fucking up a few times, learn through experience. And somewhere around 20, 18, 20, 25, somewhere around the 20 years, you get a job, you build a career, you might raise a family, you spend 40 years busting your chops. And then there's another 20, 40, 20. You hit about 60, could be 65. And now that your mortgage is paid off, you've raised a family and you hit retirement age and you got some super. And then you're too decrepit to enjoy anything. You can't go on a cruise. You can't ski. You can't snowboard. You can't trek a mountain, you know. So I love that you used earlier the statement, I love generational wealth. Not to put stuff on a platter, but to build a legacy, to leave a legacy, to give back, to help, but also to be in a position that when you are ready to settle down and have a family, you don't struggle. You don't want for anything. And one of my favorite things is you won't have to buy your kids shit that you felt you missed out on. You'll just be able to spend time with your children and teach them things that you had to struggle to learn in life or it took you a longer time to learn. That's pretty special, man. You should be very proud of that.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And I mean, make no mistake, like my mum and my dad worked their ass off.
Right.
You know? And I never went without anything. You know?
And
they provided everything.
You were studying, performing, so there would have been a lot of expense.
It was a lot of expense. It was very expensive. I moved out of home when I was 13 to move to Sydney.
Wow.
And so I lived with my auntie for 3-4 years. And then I moved out with a friend that I studied with. But my parents covered all of those expenses. So, you know, I never went without.
Arts isn't cheap.
And it's not cheap. So I'm not complaining in any way about that of what I wasn't provided, but I saw the pressure that put under them. And I guess I want to be in a position where I can do that and be comfortable and be present. Not that they weren't present. I hope you get what.
No, you moved away for so that makes sense. But also they would have been working their guts off if you didn't relocate to Sydney and they worked their clacker off to provide that for you. If you were home, they were still working their clacker off. To provide in a different manner. And I think that's a big thing that most parents aren't able to be super present because they are traveling, working, you know, commute, like, and then all of a sudden you get a day off and they're fucking exhausted. So it's tough. Okay. Now tell me, always give the opportunity to everyone. What questions have you been dying to ask me while we've got time today? What do you want to pick my brain on?
How deep can we go?
Oh, whatever. Open book, as you know.
How many properties do you hold?
At the moment, over 100.
Over 100.
Yeah, so I did something new at Real Estate Mastery the other week. You would have noticed instead of like 10 or 12, I shared about $66 million of property.
And that was in one financial year, right?
It's over about 2 financial years, I think, roughly, 2 and a bit. And that's what I mean. Literally showed $66 million of acquisitions and sales just in a 2 and a bit year period, maybe roughly. But the sales, the beginning of it, of what I sold, I show and I break down. That's all in one financial year. And it's on a podcast. Fucking open book, right? Not one of these people like, I own heaps of shit and it's in a trust. Or it's secret, you can't see it. Like I fucking show it to everyone, right? But also, I got the shits because, and I showed it again on the event on the weekend, I realized that we had another like $14-15 million of acquisitions that week, and they hadn't exchanged yet, and I didn't put them in, and I got home like, oh, fuck, 65. It could have been like 79 or 80. Fuck. Not that it matters.
It's incredible.
Right? Not that it matters, but yeah, look, we're pretty fortunate.
Yeah.
To be in a really good position, and mind you, 2012, nothing, upside down, divorce, broke, pretty much bankrupt. So
it's so inspiring.
Yeah, and look, everyone's got a sob story, and all these rich wankers have this fucking sob story. Not a sob story, just got married, got divorced, failed relationship, not great, not proud, but life goes on. Lots of debt, lots of problems. We hauled up. That's how this business was built. It was built by Beck and I through our own needs and requirements. It just happened to be that background is financial services, real estate. So it also allowed us the opportunity to completely reset to get where we are today. Yeah. And we've got some really, really big things on the horizon. And I think it's pretty wild for any advisor or guru to go out and show addresses, prices, transactions, even family. That my parents' home we bought, Rebecca's one of her aunties, her other auntie, the cars, like we're very, and you mentioned that in that podcast, you felt like, fuck, he's one of us.
That's how you relate.
Well, I just share. I think that if we're putting out this session now to share your success story because we're so proud of you and you should be bloody proud of yourself and your parents and family friends. I want somebody else. If one person watches this and says, shit, I'm like Tom. I can do what Tom's done. Great. They don't need to come and pay me. Do the free shit. Have a crack at it. If you get stuck, come and talk to us, right? But I think it's pretty cool, and I probably will. I might even edit the press a bit, and I think it'd probably go out with maybe I'll start sharing the 80 million. Maybe I'll share some of the other shit that we have as well, like older shit. Like I only talk about like that 60-odd mil in the last couple of years. Like if I show them some more shit, look out. We're talking 100 and something, like a lot. So we might do that. But yeah, to date, well over the 100. I think you've seen the 65 or 66 the other day. I'll have to change it, and we'll do another one on the 80, 90. But and that's just all and I think the recent stuff's good to show people because it's so real. It's like, hey, this is what we just did. We bought this and then sold it, or we just bought this. And I think that's transparent to go, well, what am I doing now? What's relative to me to today's market? Yeah, really good question.
Thank you.
What else?
And if you were me right now with what you know of my position and where I'm at, goals, what would you recommend for me right now?
Oh, that's a good question.
What would you recommend for me to continue to push for? Am I on the right track of what I'm striving for?
I think you're definitely on the right track. I would be constantly assessing the existing portfolio and looking at the cost base, the yield along the way, the cost base, the depreciation, the repairs and maintenance. And I'd just be monitoring that sort of every quarter. Yeah. At least every quarter, just if the market's moving, not moving, stagnant, how's the yield going, all that sort of stuff. And we'll probably reverse engineer for you with traveling guys, but what's your serviceability and what have we got in the pipeline that's coming through? And at what point in time do we liquidate that to add that? Yeah. I like saying, sell one to buy two. Yeah. And that's just going to be a balancing act of how they're performing, what equity they do or don't have, what return they're getting, and the age. And all of a sudden you're like, I've got to do the aircon. Fuck, now I've got to do the hot water. Oh, now the whatever, you know what I mean? The oven's and these things over time, they'll start to either grade on you or they'll start to diminish your yield and your return because you're now adding to the cost base and fixing them up. In saying that too, maybe we can put lipstick on a couple of them and spruce them up and get a good return and cycle. So I'm not one to sit on a lot. Even the stuff I show in the 60, 70 million bucks, it's like bought, sold, held for two, gone, or I am selling. So, and some I'm just acquiring. Yeah. I tend to transact fairly frequently and take advantage of that 50% CGT discount. So I think your journey now is just the key thing is we want to be monitoring the existing portfolio that you already have within every quarter. Yeah. How's it performing? Is it not? What are the prospects of that area? Yeah. And we just balance what we keep and what we sell. Yeah. And that should get us into a really strong position of you being super aware of your portfolio and being able to jump when the
Yeah.
market's right, because
Yeah.
it's not timing the market, it's time
Yeah.
in the market.
Yeah.
But we can take actions
Yeah.
to better time when we enter an exeter market. We
Yeah.
don't want to wait,
Yeah.
but we can know, hey, that market's doing pretty well. It's starting to subdue. Maybe
Mhm.
we exit now. It's costing me a bit. It's done its thing. You know, it's
Mm.
paid off my home loan.
Yeah.
So I think the next step would just be getting quite detailed 3-4 times a year, probably every quarter, 4 times a year on the portfolio.
Yeah.
And then we're ready to pounce.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah. But otherwise, mate, just 3 more.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Just to tick the number.
oh, I was just going to tick that off. And
Then you got your money boner. You're like, yeah,
Yeah.
nailed it. I'm done, right?
Yeah.
And then it'll be about now reviewing that
Yeah.
and realizing, hey, if we get to 10
Mm.
and we tick the number box,
Mm.
right, for whatever, now we can talk about the psychology of ticking the number, because a lot of psychology in this.
Yeah.
Then we can revert to, well, I've ticked the number. Now let's look at the portfolio. Maybe we can sell 1 to buy 2.
Yeah.
Because we also want to start to get to a position where cash flow's cute,
Mm.
but earning $100 a week or
Yeah.
earning $100,000 a year,
Yeah.
going to take the $100,000 a year.
Totally.
And I think it's pretty safe to say that by the time you're 30 in the next 3 years, you will be in a similar position to Rebecca and I, where you can replace your work income
Mm.
by selling an asset each year,
Mm.
and there'll be 50% CGT discount on that. Now,
Mm.
I can't go to work, get a salary, and half
Yeah.
of that be tax-free. I'm going to get taxed.
Yeah.
So getting to the point of 10 odd properties, you could sell 1 property
Mm.
every 2 or 3 years with a
Yeah.
couple of $100,000 profit,
Yeah.
half of it tax-free.
Yeah.
You're now a sophisticated investor.
Yeah.
You're generating big lumps of capital
Mm.
from exiting those investments.
I love that.
Now, there's BAs, buyers agents
Yeah.
out there saying, cash flow,
Yeah.
capital. I used to be one of them. I move with the market.
Yeah.
We can have you liquidating an asset every
Mm.
2 years
Mm.
for a $200,000 profit.
Mm-hmm.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10.
Yeah.
Every year, every 2. All of a sudden, we earn $1 million in the 10-year period,
Yeah.
but we only pay tax on 500.
Yeah.
I wouldn't complain with that.
Wow, it's amazing. I was doing sums the other day and getting to the point of, instead of 10 properties, 20 properties, 30 properties, and the dollar value, on 5 mil or 10 mil, and it growing at 6.9% or 7%,
Yeah.
and what you can make year on year.
That
starts to get into
compound growth.
Pretty good money.
Yeah, you don't need 20.
5 mil
30,
is like 300 and something thousand.
Yeah, you don't need 20, 30, 40. And I do that with my portfolio.
Yeah.
So when you get 60, 70, $100 million
Yeah.
of real estate,
Yeah.
it moves at 3 or 4% in growth, or
Yeah.
6.8 statistically.
Yeah.
I'm doing okay.
Yeah. No.
Like, and that's when people go, oh, but why do you still work? I don't need to.
Yeah.
But I fucking love it.
Yeah.
Because when you've got such a substantial portfolio
Mm.
that's moving a couple of points a year,
Mm.
right, that's more than most people earn in a lifetime. And it's
Yeah.
not to be facetious. It's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. I'm
Yeah.
a workaholic too, 7
Yeah.
days a week. So,
Yeah.
and keep doing those numbers. I keep that in my notes. It's like,
Yeah.
right, if my portfolio grows 3%
Mm-hmm.
CPI, if it
Mhm.
grows 5,
Yeah.
6.8,
Yeah.
call it 7, 9, 10.
Yeah.
We have a year of 15 or 20. Shut the gates.
I know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Holiday time, new car time, new toy time.
Yeah.
Because it's funding those things that we all want. But the problem is,
Yeah.
we all go get the things we want when we can't afford them,
Yeah.
instead of doing the work first.
Yeah.
Got to do the work first.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, it's so amazing. I get so excited. As you know, like, after that masterclass, I messaged you. I don't
Yeah.
You probably don't remember, but I messaged you. I couldn't sleep for like
Yeah.
2-3 days.
Everyone does on day one.
I was
Everyone's
like,
like, whoa.
oh my God.
Yeah.
I was just thinking of all these scenarios through my head, and yeah, I'm just keen to keep building and growing.
Although you should be really bloody proud of yourself. And I'm sure mum and dad are as well. So
Thank you.
keep up the good work. And we'll do a round 2 of this and see how we're going in the next couple of months for everyone.
Sounds good.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it. Well
mate.
done, mate.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.